Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be jumping in. We got a ton of stuff to go over because I'm going to map out for you exactly how you can get business credit, how you can get immediate business credit, get business credit initially very quickly, and then how you can actually build that business credit to $250,000 plus. Really, there's no ceiling of how much business credit you can really earn or obtain, but I'm going to at least talk to you about how you can start getting into $250,000 plus in business credit in less than a year. And during this webinar, I'm going to map out the exact steps to make that happen. But to do so, I'm going to have to move at a pretty quick pace because I got a ton of stuff to cover today. So before we jump in, let me first introduce myself. My name is Ty Crandall. I'm actually the Director of Business Services here at Credit Suite. If you're not familiar with who I am and you do any research, you'll find I'm a foremost expert in the field of business credit. I oversee the biggest business credit operation in the country, and we literally have helped tens of thousands of people build their actual business credit. So what I do is actually work with companies to help them offer business credit and financing for their customers. So if you're interested in getting business credit for yourself or financing for yourself or working with a company to do so, or if you're interested in actually offering business credit and financing as a service and making money, you can check us out. There's our website, creditsuite.com/business credit. There's not going to be any pitch today or any kind of sell today. So I always like to throw that out there that if you're interested in, that's exactly where you can do business credit. So enough about me and enough about us. Let's get started and talk a little bit more about you. So business credit, when we talk about business credit, we're talking about credit that's linked to a business EIN number. So this is credit that a business owner can obtain that's not linked to their social security number. And this is very important to note because a lot of people are skeptical. When we talk about business credit, it's impossible to talk about this without mentioning that it's not linked to your personal credit. But when people hear that you can get credit that's not affected by your personal credit, that you could get this money without even having your personal credit looked at, that you can get this money regardless of your personal credit quality, it's easy to be skeptical. But you have to understand that fundamentally, business credit's just not linked to your personal credit, your social security number. True business credit is credit that's linked to your EIN, not linked to your social security number. So that means this credit can be obtained with no personal liability from the business owner. And this is the way most businesses, or every business, should really operate. There's no highly successful entrepreneurs of, major Fortune 500 companies that exist today that personally guarantee their corporate debts. I mean, every business reaches a level where the business owner is not personally liable for the business debts, that the business basically becomes liable for its own debts. And what a lot of people don't realize is that any business, big or small, can actually accomplish that. So with business credit, there's no personal liability from you. That's one of the major benefits that it provides. Now, business credit has no direct affiliation to your personal credit whatsoever, and that's something important that you really want to know, is business credit has no impact on the business owner's personal credit. So when done properly, business credit's obtained without the social security number even being supplied on the application. And that's what you're going to learn today, is how to go in and get credit. And when they ask you for the social security number, which, just so you know, they'll always ask you for the social security number, but giving you the ability to leave that field blank and still get approved because they pull your EIN credit and it stands on its own. Now, I do see some questions coming in. Let me say I got a ton of content to go over with you today, so I probably won't even have a chance to address questions as they come in. But what I will do is give you my email address at the end, my phone number, and you'll find that if you reach out to me, I will always make sure that your questions are answered. And somebody else had mentioned something about this being recorded. If you are staying through the webinar, this will be recorded, and those attendees that stay throughout the webinar will be sent a playback to the webinar so you can stop it, pause it, go back, write down anything you might have missed. So also this means that there's no credit check from the business owner to get approved at all. Because remember, if you're filling out an application and not even supplying your social security number, they can't pull your credit. Most organizations, almost all, need your social security number to be able to pull a credit report on you personally. So with business credit, you're not even putting your social on the application. Therefore, there's absolutely no personal credit check. They don't even have what's necessary to get your personal credit because they don't have your social security number. Now, this also means that anyone who has bad, even horrible personal credit can still be approved for business credit. Now, there's a lot of benefits. There's a lot of reasons you would be attracted to business credit. A lot of our clients are credit repair companies. So a lot of customers we see have just like I described, horrible personal credit, but are still able to come in and secure business credit because we teach them how to do so without putting their social security number on the application, just using their EIN to lead the way. So business credit reports to the business credit reporting agencies, not the consumer credit reporting agencies. So this means as business credit's used, it has no inverse impact on the person's personal credit. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but 30% of your consumer credit score is made up of what's called utilization, which means if you get a credit card for $1,000 and you have a balance of more than $300 or 30% of that limit, then you actually lower your scores. You hurt your scores. But with business credit, that has no impact at all because it's not even reported. So if you get an account with Staples for $2,000 and it reports to the business credit reporting agencies, doesn't even show up on your consumer credit, you could max out that card of $2,000 and have no impact on personal credit scores because it's not even reported to the personal credit reporting agencies. So again, you know, if you're utilizing more than 30% of your credit cards, you're actually lowering your personal score, but with business credit, that wouldn't have any kind of adverse effect on your consumer score whatsoever. The same with inquiries. When you're getting business credit and you're getting it linked to your EIN, not putting your social on the application, there is no inquiry on your personal credit report, so there's no lowering of your score. 10% of your consumer score is made up of inquiries, or what new credit you're applying, or how much new credit you're applying for in certain periods of time. Well, with business credit, you're not getting an inquiry on your personal credit report, so again, another benefit is that there's no impact at all on your personal credit report as you're securing business credit. So here's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, does business credit really work? So far, it just sounds like a scam. I mean, it's starting to sound too good to be true because we're talking about being able to get credit with no impact on personal credit, and we're talking about being able to get credit regardless of your personal credit quality. So does this really work? Well, you know, business credit success in the real world comes down to this. Every highly successful business in this country has business credit. You can't be a highly successful organization without it, period. There is no major company in the United States that doesn't have business credit or has used business credit to get as big as they are. And that's one of the important things to note is the biggest companies in this country have used their business credit to get as big as they are. They wouldn't be as big as they are today without business credit. So let's take a look at some of these companies that I'm actually talking about. So here's, for example, Facebook. Now, Facebook has been around, I don't know, less than 10 years, and you can see here just at a quick snapshot of their Experian data that they've got 40 trade lines already established in their infancy. Like I said, they've been around less than a decade. They already have 40 reported trade lines, and this is just with Experian. Keep in mind, what I'm going to show you doesn't have anything to do with Dun & Bradstreet, who's the biggest business credit reporting agency in the country. This is Experian. That's the second biggest. So this is just how many accounts they have reported with Experian. Really doesn't have anything to do with the amount of accounts that they actually have with the other business credit reporting agencies. Now, companies like Microsoft, that's been around much longer, since the 70s, 131 trade lines. And again, you got to think that, you know, Mark Zuckerberg or, you know, anybody in Microsoft, because Bill Gates really isn't as involved as he once was, these guys are not personally guaranteeing their business debts. They're getting the exact kind of credit you can get through business credit. Their company is building a credit profile, score trade lines, and then their company is qualifying for more and more credit on its own, regardless of the business owners, which is our goal for you attending this webinar today, to teach you how to do the same. Here's Apple, been around about the same time, since the 70s, 138 active trade lines here. You know, but it's easy to look at this and say, okay, Ty, well, this is great. I mean, these are all really big companies, and I am of the belief that you can only get this kind of credit as a big company. But, you know, for example, here's one of our clients. This is one of our clients that just started building their credit this year. They have 6 trade lines. So they've got a pretty powerful start. And what's interesting about this is that if you put that in proportion to Facebook, they've got, I don't know, 8 or 10% of the amount of trade lines that Facebook has. And we just started with them this year. Facebook's been around almost a decade. So to have 8 or 10% of the trade line amount that even Facebook has is a pretty cool thing, considering you're 9 or 10 months into your business credit building. So listen, any company can build business credit. Doesn't matter how big or small you are. It's just a matter of knowing the steps to do so and accepting the fact that you can never be as big as a Facebook, Microsoft, or Apple, ever be that successful without business credit. These companies have used business credit to get as big as they are. As a matter of fact, talking about that, Walmart is a very good example of this. Most people don't know that Walmart, 80%, 80% of Walmart's cash injection into their company comes from business credit. They are the epitome of using business credit to become highly successful. And you can see that their trade lines dwarf Microsoft, Apple, everybody I've shown you, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, all of these companies combined don't even have as many trade lines as Walmart themselves have. But they're really a good example of how powerful business credit can be. A company that's grown into be one of the biggest retailers in the United States that has more trade lines than most other companies you're going to find. And again, a company that's 80% of their entire cash injection comes from business credit versus all other sources. A lot of people are surprised at that, but again, they used business credit to get as big as they actually are today. So 80% of the cash injection from Walmart came from business credit. So contrary to what many people believe, business credit is not only for these big companies. Any company can build business credit. So big companies are typically the ones who enjoy the benefits of it because they have CFOs. Like, they have chief financial officers. They have people that know this path, that know this formula, that know these steps to build their corporate credit. Whereas, let's be honest, your average small business owner doesn't have a CFO. They don't have financially minded people that's whole job is just to improve the financial state of that company. Mostly only big companies do, which is why mostly only big companies only in the past have gotten to take advantage of this. But you absolutely can get your hands on the exact same credit these large companies have if you know this formula to obtain it. It's really just a matter of knowing how to get it. It's not a matter of, Facebook only got business credit because they were Facebook. They started the same way you're going to start, and they built their credit the same way you can build your credit and grow it the same way they can. It's just a matter of knowing the same formula that mostly only these CFO or financially minded people know. So what is so good about business credit? I mean, why, in my mind and so many other people's mind, is it so awesome? Well, we already discussed some of the major benefits, right? No personal credit check, no personal guarantee, no impact on personal credit or personal credit scores. But there's a lot of other benefits we still haven't even talked about. Like, for example, another benefit of business credit is that it really doubles your borrowing ability. Because if you think about it, you have a consumer credit profile, and now you have a whole other credit profile. And I've spent a lot of time working with credit challenged customers, and a lot of them wish they could just start over and have a whole other credit profile. Well, business credit's the only legitimate legal way you could actually do that, because you literally can have two separate credit profiles. You have your consumer credit, where maybe you have a $1,000 Staples card. Then you have your business credit, where you have another $1,000 or $2,000 Staples credit card. But in reality, it's more than doubling your ability or access to money, because per SBA, business credit gives you 10 to 100 times approvals than consumer credit. So if you have a $1,000, consumer credit card with Staples, then more than likely you're going to have an $1,100 to $10,000 limit on the business credit side. Another huge benefit of having business credit is not only can you have a separate credit profile, but you could have 10 to 100 times higher limits with this new kind of credit you're getting. So much higher credit limits gives you much greater access to actual money that you can really use. And so obtaining business credit radically increases your available credit, because look, let's be honest, businesses use money at a grander scale than consumers usually do. Like, if you own a business or are thinking about starting a business, your business is going to bring in a lot more money and have a lot more money going out than you usually will as a consumer or the business owner. So this is why businesses just get much higher limits, because they have a much greater use for that much credit more than a consumer actually would. But business credit can also be built very fast, which is another huge benefit, because you can get approved for an initial vendor credit as your account, as you're about to learn today, to help your business grow within a week. Like, you're going to finish this webinar and be able to go in and actually get your first vendor account to start building your business credit within a week. And that credit usually reports in 30 to 90 days. And once this credit reports and you get a few of these accounts reporting, you get a credit score, which in the consumer world would take you 6 months or longer to obtain. So once this credit reports, then you have trade lines, which then give you an established business credit profile and an established business score. And once that profile is established in 90 days or less, you can start getting real usable revolving store credit cards. This is way different than consumer credit. With consumer credit, FICO won't even give you a score unless you've had credit reported for 6 months. But in business credit world, all you need is accounts reported to get a score. So if those accounts report in 30, 60, or 90 days, boom, you have a score. Then with the scores, you can start using it to get more credit. So right away, business credit can be built at least twice as fast, if not even faster, than you would have success with in the consumer world. Within 120 to 180 days, or about 4 to 6 months, you can build your credit to a point where you're getting like Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express cards that you can use anywhere. These are $5,000, $10,000 limit credit cards that are cash credit that you can use absolutely anywhere, that again are obtained in most cases without the personal guarantee, and in almost all cases without requiring a personal credit check. So who's business credit really work for? Well, it's perfect for startups or established businesses. And I talk to a lot of established businesses that say, oh yeah, business credit, I have business credit. But then when we pull their credit information, just like I showed you with Experian and with Facebook and these other companies, they have no trade lines reported. Well, that's because 90% of trade credit doesn't even report to the business credit reporting agency. So a lot of established businesses think they have business credit when they really don't have business credit at all. So it really works well if you're just starting a business, thinking about starting your business. Man, I wish I would have known about business credit when I first started many of my businesses. It just would have made it a lot easier because I would have had access to credit to help grow the business from the beginning. But even if you're an established business, it still works very well for you. It's also perfect for companies that don't have collateral. Because if you're going to walk into a bank, and usually when I talk to somebody and say, where would you go if you need money? They say, well, I would go to my bank. Well, banks primarily offer SBA loans, and SBA 7A are working capital loans like you could use for any purpose. Well, most people are surprised to find that SBA loans, these conventional loans, account for less than 2% of all loans that take place in this country. SBA, these just aren't the most common kind of loans that are out there, and one of the reasons is because they require collateral. If you look at their guidelines, their underwriting guidelines demand that the lender take everything that can be used as collateral to offset the debt. Well, a lot of people don't have collateral. So if you don't have collateral, business credit works perfect because you don't need it to obtain business credit as you do most conventional loans. Now, business credit is perfect for companies that have no cash flow to verify, no tax returns, or people that just don't want to. A lot of people have good accountants. They write off almost everything they can, and they show very low net profits so they don't have to pay a lot of taxes. Well, that's fantastic when it comes to not having to pay a lot of taxes, but that's horrible when it comes to getting money, because so many lenders look at these tax returns to look at your profitability to determine if they're going to give you money or not. And if you don't want to supply tax returns, don't have tax returns, don't have money going through your business bank accounts, or don't want to show your business bank accounts, business credit's perfect because it requires none of that to get approved. It truly provides a good way to get money for any business. It doesn't matter if you're big. It doesn't matter if you're small. It doesn't matter if you're just getting started or if you're established, or it doesn't link to your personal credit situation. So there's very few, very rare, if any, situation you could describe where business credit doesn't make sense because it doesn't require all these things that most other forms of money require. So how business credit really works? Well, this is how business credit works. For example, these are some approvals that are real approvals from credit accounts, so you can see the end results. Before we get into the process, I like to show you the end result of what you're actually going to get. So this is a real customer approval for a city business credit card for $15,000. Now again, 0% for 6 months on this, 9.9% plus prime after that. Pretty typical credit card rates, and a $15,000 limit. Now here's one for $7,000. That's a Visa card. Okay, here's one for $22,000. That's an Amex card. And again, these aren't even all from one client. I pulled these from a lot of clients and whited out their name, of course, for privacy reasons. But these are 100% true business credit approvals that our clients receive. And this is the benefit. This is why you would want to build business credit, because this is what's on the other side when you do. Here's 2 approvals, one for $8,000 from a Chase Inc. card. Here's just a regular Chase card for $10,000 limit. So this kind of gives you an idea of just some approvals, and I've tried to mix it up. I think there was a MasterCard in there, some Visas in there, some American Express in there, so you could really see what's possible. 5, 7, 10, 15, 8, $22,000 limit cash credit cards that you can use anywhere. This is why you build business credit. And here's what's crazy. What I'm showing you can be obtained within 6 to 12 months. This is what this webinar is designed to do, is to outline the steps to get this kind of money in 6 to 12 months. And if you get started right now, then you got to think by, the beginning part of next year, by March, April, these are the kind of credit cards that you can actually have access to. So let's get to the important part. How do you actually build business credit? Well, the very first step is one that most people overlook. Most people mess up. And I talk to a lot of people that say, I tried to build my business credit and it didn't work out. Like, business credit doesn't work because I tried it and it doesn't work out. And they messed up on the very first step, which is that they didn't make sure that their business was set up credibly. So you got to keep in mind that credit issuers nowadays, a lot of them don't manually review credit applications. It's not how it works. Instead, they have computers issue approvals or denials based on set criteria. It's really simple. They have their computer, they program it that this is the criteria we're looking for. The computer looks at the information you plug into it, and it says, boom, you're approved or denied based on the information you provided matched up against the criteria we've been programmed to match it up against. So if you meet this qualifying criteria, you get approved. Simple as that. If you don't, you get denied. So the first real step in building business credit is to know what this credit issuer's criteria is and meet that criteria before you even apply. Now, believe it or not, this is like a crazy philosophy in the banking world. Okay, one of our senior business advisors actually was the biggest banker at Wells Fargo Bank. She was the biggest business banker in the country. And one of the reasons she left the organization was because in the banking world, they prohibit the bankers from telling the actual applicant what's being looked at, what they're looking for. So even though she knew certain simple fixes could make that person qualify, they weren't even allowed to discuss that with the actual applicant. So it's kind of backwards in the banking world from what I believe in, which is the fact of, hey, if you know what the criteria is to qualify, you can know you can meet that criteria before you even apply. And that's really the first thing you want to do in building business credit. So you can imagine how much greater success you're going to have when you follow this strategy. Like, if you know what the lender's looking for before you even apply, it's much easier to make sure you meet that criteria before you even complete and submit the actual application. So any company can build business credit, as we've kind of already talked about. But all credit issuers are wanting and hoping to see a well-established company apply that they can approve. You have to keep in mind, statistically, 90% of business owners know nothing about business credit. Only 10% do. Credit issuers love this because this means usually the 10% that know about it, again, are the ones with CFOs, are the ones that are well-established businesses, are the ones that have the financial insight to know about it. So credit issuers have had this major benefit of nobody like me being around as an advocate telling everybody how to get this process done. They've relied on being able to only deal with these companies that are bigger and know how this process works to actually get business credit. So ultimately, never forget, that's what they're really wanting. They want companies that have the best chance of success, companies that are well established, companies that if they approve will use that credit to grow and they'll have long-standing, lifelong relationships with. So considering most don't require financials upon application, there's other criteria they look at to gauge if your business is truly credible if you have the perception of being a well-established, successful business. Think of it like this. They're not pulling your financials. They're not pulling your tax returns. They're not pulling your bank statements. So all they have to go off of to determine the size and the potential of your company is what you put on the application. And that's why what you put on the application is 100% what determines you're credible in the actual credit issuer's mind, and it's also what gets you approved. So by well-established, I don't mean you have to be in business many years. You see, a lot of people sell these bogus shelf corporations, which you don't need. Don't ever pay for a shelf corporation because you don't need one. Okay, but they'll try to sell them to you, convincing you that you need a well-established company that's been in business for many years to get credit. That's not true. Most credit issuers, if you meet their criteria, will give you credit if you've been open for a month or 2 months from now. It's just a matter of knowing what their criteria is and making sure you meet that criteria before you actually apply. So when I talk about well-established, I'm not saying you have to be open for years and years and years. What I'm saying is you have to meet the profile that they're looking for of an established company that has the credibility points that determine in their mind that you're an established, credible business. So it starts with your business name, believe it or not. In the very first part of starting your corporation, you decided a name and you got it incorporated or set up your entity type. So that business name has to be congruent on all of your documents, especially ones that are public records that anyone can actually access, including credit issuers. Okay, so that's the most important thing is, believe it or not, I mean, this is hard to believe, but one of the biggest reasons that companies get turned down when they apply for business credit is so basic. They go in and they apply, and let's say their name is ABC Incorporated, or ABC Incorporated doing business as BCD Corp. Well, they go in and just apply as ABC. And they get denied because the credit issuer looks for ABC online, can't find them, when really they were listed under ABC Incorporated. And yes, there is a difference. Or they didn't list their DBA of DBA, or they didn't list their DBA as, CBA, doing business as CBA Corp. And because of it, the actual credit issuer couldn't find them. So one of the biggest reasons of denial is that the credit issuer tries to find you and they can't find you because the name you put on the app isn't congruent with even your corporation papers. So your full name has to be used, including any DBAs that you're actually using. So again, it's hard to believe, but this one factor is one of the main reasons that people actually get denied for business credit. And again, this is one of the reasons that most people don't build business credit, is they just overlook these kind of basics. The criteria, the credit issuers goes searching for this company and they can't find it, then they deny the application. That's what typically happens. So you've got to make sure that your name is congruent with all documents, especially that of which is public records. So your business name has to be congruent on all pertinent documents, including your corporation records, licenses that you hold, your bank statements, your utility statements, okay, your EIN paperwork, your tax returns with the business credit reporting agencies themselves, your lease. Now, as you've already heard me say, a credit issuer isn't going to ask for all these things. Like they might not ask for your bank statements. They might not ask for your tax returns. They might not ask for your lease, but lenders will. So this is also one of the reasons you get denied when you apply for a bank loan, is because this isn't the same. It's not congruent. And I revert back to the person on our team I was telling you that worked for Wells Fargo that actually had this problem. It was so frustrating to her because what she found was people were getting denied for this basic of a reason, and she wasn't even able to advise them to make corrections. So your bankers won't tell you this, but it's one of the biggest reasons for getting denied is the fact that your name isn't congruent. So especially public records, corporation records, licenses, okay, EIN paperwork, the business credit reporting agencies, anybody can access this data on your company. You got to make sure that stuff is congruent. But if you're ever going to think of walking into a bank and getting money, you got to make sure your lease, your tax returns, your bank statements, all of that stuff is congruent, because this won't only just help you with getting business credit, it's also really going to help you with getting financing and all other places that you have your actual company name listed. So any business entity can build build business credit. But you should know that the entity you choose will determine your personal liability and tax ramifications. I get this question all the time. Ty, look, I'm a corporation. I'm a sole proprietorship. I'm this entity type. Which entity is best? Can I get business credit with entity? Yes, absolutely you can. But the entity you choose will determine two things, liability and tax ramifications. So for example, if an LLC or corporation is actually getting money, you're not personally liable for your business dealings. This is the entity you chose. Congratulations. You chose an LLC, which is a limited liability company. A lot of people think it's a corporation. It's not. It's a limited liability company or a corporation. Well, the way those entities are structured, you are not personally liable for your business debts. So you could get business credit all day long. You ever default, you're not going to be personally liable. But if you're a sole proprietorship or many partnerships, you are personally liable, solely based on the entity structure itself. This has nothing to do with business credit at all. This just has to do with the entity you chose and the ramifications of choosing that entity. So the entity you choose itself determines your tax ramifications and the liability you'll incur on all of your business dealings. So don't rely on your accountant, okay, for this, because most accountants don't know or understand business credit, only the tax aspects. And I'm not putting down accountants. A lot of our accountants are partners. They sell business credit with us. And they'll be the first to tell you that before they came to us, they didn't know much about it. They played it off when their customers asked, but they just didn't know much about it. And guys, that's okay, because most credit repair companies that come to us, most accountants, most financial planners, okay, most mortgage brokers, these are the most common industries that work with us to sell business credit and financing. Most of these companies knew nothing about business credit before they got to us. So your accountant understands tax ramifications very well, but they don't understand business credit. So my accountant, for example, gives me advice all day long of setting up my entity for tax purposes, but he doesn't know enough about business credit to know that his guidance can also backfire on me because it makes me personally liable for my business debts, which I don't want to have happen. But he doesn't care. That's not his priority. His priority is to protect me on the tax side. So don't just rely on your accountant here. They're doing their job, which is to protect you in paying the least amount of taxes legally you could pay. Their job is not to make sure that you eliminate personal liability, which choosing the wrong entity can result in. So research and decide on the best entity for your business. Now, I have an awesome webinar on my YouTube channel. If you search my name or search business credit, I'm like the fourth or fifth one that comes up on YouTube. That's just about entity. It's a whole hour long that walks you through every entity, corporation, LLC, every kind of partnership, DBA. It walks you through them all and talks about tax ramifications and liability. I can't do that on this webinar because, again, that's a whole hour just dedicated to that, but it's at least worthwhile checking out if you want to make sure you're not personally liable for your business debts. So some basics you have to make sure of that are essential in business credit building is before you even think of applying for business credit, you have to have your EIN number set up. It's free to get. Don't pay for the service. Okay, there's a lot of companies out there that if you go to get an EIN set up, you'll type in that into Google, and they have very official looking government kind of duplicate sites that will charge you as much as $130 for an EIN. EIN numbers are free. You never need to pay anybody to get an EIN number. You could easily just search Google for like get a free EIN number. When I searched Google for free EIN, I found this website. I don't expect you to write it down because it's way too long to write down. But what you need to know about this is it starts with www.irs.gov. Okay, so don't look at something else before this. If it comes from irs.gov, it's going to be legit. If it comes from a site that's trying to mimic irs.gov, it's probably not. What you need to know is an EIN will never cost you actually anything. Or just search free EIN on Google and go only to the link from irs.gov. No one that looks similar because those just are not legit. So your business phone number has to be listed with 411. Believe it or not, another major reason people fail building business credit. A lot of people, I'll give you an example. I owned a credit improvement company for 5 years. And you would think after 5 years I'm listed in 411. It's a given, right? You just think that that's the case. But I wasn't listed in 411. And believe it or not, if I would go to apply for business credit, I would be denied. And I would never know that. Like, I would never have thought that I would be denied because I wasn't listed in 411. Like, of all the things that go through my mind of reasons they may deny me, not being listed in 411 would never be one that would cross my mind. But you do have to be listed with 411. This is one of the basics. To get started with building business credit, as you're about to discover, you have to get vendor accounts. Vendor accounts, some of them will approve you if you only have an EIN and 411 listing. But if you don't have an EIN and you don't have a 411, if you don't have, this is why I'm calling them basics. If you don't have these basics, you won't get approved. So again, getting listed with 411 isn't as easy as you think it is. I thought this was easy back in the day until I went looking for a source that could help me, and I couldn't find them, and for 2 months I did nothing with building my business credit until I figured out the right way to do it. The company that we use is called List Yourself. I don't know if they're free or not. We pay them a ton of money, so but other people have told me they're free. We pay them a ton of money to list our clients, and I don't know. Other people have been to their websites and say that it might be free, but I can tell you this is a legitimate company. It's a legitimate source that we use to get listed with 411. It is the source I recommend. List Yourself to get listed with 411. And again, it's essential because in the very beginning of building business credit, everybody's going to want to see you have an EIN, you're listed with 411. These are essential basics to even have a shot of starting to get approved. And make sure you have a business phone listed with 411. You can't take your home phone. You can't take your cell phone number and get it listed with 411. That won't work. You need a business phone number. It could be a voice over IP. Okay, it could be like a Ring Central type number. That's fine. It just has to be a business phone number. So your business address. Credit issuers see a successful business as one with a real physical address. Think about it. Okay, when they're going to look at your application, one of the biggest things they're going to look at to know in their mind if you're quote-unquote legitimate is that you have a real business address. Now, that means you don't want to use a home address, P.O. Box, or UPS address when applying for business credit. I am not saying that you are not legitimate if you're working from home. Not at all. I built some majorly successful businesses working from home. Okay, it's a smart way to do business because you cut costs and expenses. But on paper, credit issuers do not want to see this. They want to see that you're working out of a real physical location. So if you don't have a physical address, use a virtual address solution. We use a company called Regis. You maybe have seen commercials from them. Okay, they're the biggest virtual address company that's out there today. So with Regis, you can get an address that you just get mail delivered to, but like you don't physically have an office there. You just pay them to basically borrow their address or borrow a suite address within their location. You can then have an address so you could use your applications when applying, and then this address is a real office building. So like if they look at your virtual address, they see you're in a high-rise building in Tampa, Florida, and they go, well, this guy must be legitimate because he's like in this big, expensive high-rise building in Tampa, Florida, but what they don't know is that you're just getting your mail there. Okay, and again, I'm not trying to teach you to be deceptive. I'm just teaching you this is exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for a real physical address, which gives you two choices. You either go get a real physical address or you use a solution like this that a lot of companies do to just help give them legitimacy in a lot of different areas, including credit issuers. You can simply get your mail there at a company like this, and then they'll just mail your mail to your real physical address. So this way you have a real physical address without actually having to go move your location. Now, don't use a home phone or cell phone on the application. You need to have a real business phone number, voice over IP solution, companies like Ring Central. It's cheap. It's like $9.99 a month, I think, with Ring Central, and they can give you a fax number too. And you really should have a toll-free number. I mean, if you're a pizza delivery company and all you need is a local number, that's cool. That makes sense. But most companies nowadays are doing business nationwide, and if you are, then you really want to make sure that you actually have a real toll-free number. And also, you need a fax number. And again, you know, nowadays you can get all this in one. Like Ring Central, you can get your fax, business phone, and toll-free number all in one for like $10 a month or something like that, I think last time I checked. And that main number should be listed with 411 as we talked about. You also want to make sure that you research that you have a real professional business website, because they will research your company online. You know, sometimes, and in a lot of cases, they will actually manually review your application, or their computers are set up to verify that you have a real website. If you were to fill out an application with no website, you're done before you even begin. Because, I mean, think about it. What legitimate company nowadays is in business that doesn't really have a website? I mean, that's the way credit issuers look at it. That, again, if you don't have a website, I'm not telling you you're not legit. I'm just saying you probably should get one, because these are things that lenders and credit issuers are for sure looking at. So you've got to make sure that you have a professional website too, that reflects your brand, that reflects your company. Now, I use this company, that they're pretty good, monstertemplate.com. So you don't have to pay like a ton of money to get a website. And if you say, well, Ty, look, I don't have a website because websites are like $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. Yes, they can be that much. We work with companies that charge that much and deliver websites that are phenomenal. But you could do this cheap, on the real cheap, and this is how you do it. You go to a website template company, monstertemplate.com, choose any of them. Okay, as you'll notice here, I'm not giving you affiliate links. I'm not making any money by recommending these sources. I'm just telling you who I recommended, who we've had a lot of clients have success with. So monstertemplate.com will give you like a template you could choose, and then you go to a place like Odesk. You can hire really cheap international or local virtual contractors for like $2, $3, $4, $5 an hour to put it up. You could buy a website template and have your whole website put up for $150 to $250 and have a really professional website. So it's cheap, it's easy to do. There's no reason to not have professional representation. It's going to help you with your customers, clients anyways, and that's an easy way to do it if you don't have that. And you also need to get a business address set up, a business email address. So here's my business email address right here. You can see ty@creditsuite.com. That's because our website is creditsuite.com. That's how yours should be. Nowadays, if you go to GoDaddy, you pay $7 to $12 for the domain, and you get emails included. So like for less than $12 or less than $15, you can get your website and your actual email address. So you also don't want to apply for business credit if your company doesn't have the proper licensing. So you need to have the proper license with your state, your county, the federal government, whenever you're required to have them. And also make sure your company name is the same on all that licensing. So if you're a plumbing contractor and you don't have the proper licensing, well, don't go applying for business credit, because they're going to check to make sure you're legitimate and licensed in the areas you're supposed to be licensed in. And if you're not, well, they're not going to approve you. So again, some industries don't require special licensing. Some do. But if you do, you definitely want to make sure that you have this. Okay, so see what's on your business credit report. So this is kind of the next step of what I kind of outlined as a 4-step process. The first thing that we just talked about was how to make sure your business is set up credibly. And we covered a lot of the core elements: your address, your phone number, your website. Just think of it like this. Whenever you fill in any space on that application, stop and ask yourself, why are they asking me this question? My name, pretty obvious, okay? My social security number. Well, they don't need this because I'm applying for business credit. Think through what they're asking before you fill in that blank. And just keep in mind that every field on an application, they're looking at and scrutinizing for credibility. And just make sure that they're asking you for the website, make sure your website's solid. They're asking you for a fax number, make sure you have one. They're asking you for a business phone. Well, make sure you're putting a business phone. You know, so just every line scrutinize on that application and know that what they're really digging for is credibility. And if you've done that and followed what we've outlined already, then you're well on your way of making sure that you're set up credibly for credit issuers, lenders, and many other sources. So the next step is, let's see what's on your business credit reports now. See, unlike with consumer credit, anyone who wants to can easily and cheaply see your business credit reports and scores. You saw that earlier, right? I just pulled up how many trade lines all these different companies had, and it cost me nothing to do so. So most people can go to credit issuers or go and get, not most, anybody who wants to can go get your credit report right now. Anybody. There's no requirements. Like, I can't go pull your personal credit unless like I'm a car dealership or a mortgage broker, somebody that's licensed to do so. But I can pull your business credit reports all day long. This means prospects, clients, credit issuers, lenders, even competitors can all see what's on your business credit report. And they can even set up notification triggers to tell them when information changes. So like, they can set it up that if your score drops 10 points, they get a notice. Your prospects can do this. Your competitors, anybody can access this information. So you have to know what's on your report before you even start building business credit for this reason, amongst many other reasons. So most business owners have no idea, though, what's really on their reports to begin with. Okay, and a lot of people have negative accounts reporting that they didn't even know were there or aren't even theirs to begin with. Many others think that they have positive accounts reporting, but there's nothing reported because, again, they say, well, I've been in business all these years and I have all this credit. But again, 95%, depending on the statistics that you're looking at, say 90 to 95% of all credit issuers don't report to the business credit reporting agencies. So, unless you specifically knew they were reporting, they're probably not, which means you could have bad stuff on there you don't know about. You might not have positive stuff on there that you thought was on there. So make sure that you actually get your reports to really see what's on there. Okay, these are just more reasons you need to know what's on your reports beyond just the fact that anybody can pull this data. Plus, in business credit building, it's all about having payment experiences reported. Now, if you're not familiar with what a payment experience is, I'll tell you. A payment experience is a reporting of a trade line to an actual business credit reporting agency. So, for example, if you have a credit account with Staples, and they report to D&B and Experian. D&B is Dun & Bradstreet. So let's say they report to Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. Well, that would qualify as two payment experiences. You have one with Dun & Bradstreet. You have one with the actual Experian. So this is actually how this will work, is that a payment experience is what measures your ability to move on. Like, you need a certain amount of payment experiences to get revolving. You do need a certain amount of payment experiences to even move on to cash credit. So to get approved for revolving accounts, for example, like Staples and Home Depot, you've got to have 5 payment experiences. And you'll need about 10 payment experiences for cash credit. So that being said, you've got to be able to monitor your business credit reports to see when these payment experiences or trade lines are added, so you know when to apply for the next round of business credit. If you get reports to D&B, you'll probably want to get Experian also. Experian's used by the biggest underwriters of business credit revolving accounts. Like Citi is one of the biggest underwriters of business credit accounts, and they use Experian. So it's not a bad idea to get full reports with Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. You might get Equifax, but it's not even a big deal. They're just not widely used in the business credit reporting agency. So I mostly recommend that you get Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. You should focus long-term on building credit with all 3 reporting agencies, but in short-term, and most important, you need to get set up with Dun & Bradstreet and Experian. So you can go to dnb.com for your DUNS number and D&B scores and profiles. You can go to smartbusinessreports.com for your actual Experian. And you can go to Equifax.com for your actual Equifax reports. You don't need to write these down real quick. If you go to Google and just type in Dun & Bradstreet Credit Monitoring, Experian Business Credit Monitoring, Equifax Business Credit Monitoring, you'll pull up these pages. So there's no reason to write it down. Just search for Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, or Equifax Business Credit Monitoring, and you'll pull up those actual sites. So now you know what's on your business credit report. You made sure your business is set up credibly. The next step of building business credit is to get approved for vendor credit. Now, a business credit report really starts the same as a consumer credit report does, with small credit cards. And the business can be approved for these small credit cards that helps them build an initial credit profile. Now, most people start consumer credit reports with a cosigner or with secured credit cards. Secured credit cards really are not very popular in the business credit world. Instead, vendor accounts are, which is like awesome, because for a secured card, you like give them $500 and they give you $500 worth of credit and charge you interest on your own money. It makes no sense. But with business credit, vendor accounts are real credit you could use at a lot of different places. So this is getting credit that you could use and building your business credit in the process, which is pretty cool. So these types of initial cards in the business world are commonly referred to as vendor accounts, okay? And these usually come with like net 30 terms. So what this means is it means that you'll get credit on net 30 terms, which gives you 30 days to pay the bill you owe in its entirety. So these are not revolving credit accounts. Revolving credit accounts, you charge $100 on the credit card, and they like say, hey, you need to pay us $25. And then the next bill's for $25, and you have like months and months to pay it back. With vendor accounts and net 30 accounts, you only have 30 days to pay the bill in its entirety. So they give you a credit and they go, okay, look, Mr. Business Owner, we're going to give you credit for 30 days. You have to pay us off in your entirety within 30 days, or that way we're just not going to actually give you credit. So with Net 30 accounts, you have to pay that full bill off within 30 days to actually stay within their terms. Some companies require you buy their products while others won't. So you'll find when building initial business credit, like some will actually come in and say, you've got to buy our products first. You buy it once and buy it twice, then we'll give you a credit line. Some will say, hey, we'll just give you instant credit right away. So keep that in mind. Some of these sources will want you to buy products a couple times from them before they give you credit. Some won't have that requirement. The same as some companies will have you pay for your first couple of orders up front, and others won't have you pay for their services up front. So it just kind of depends on the actual vendors that you're actually choosing. And some companies report the credit very quickly, okay, and others don't report it. So some will take their time and take 6 months to a year for them to even report it, and some others will report it right away. So I'm teaching you what to look for when you're searching for vendor accounts. Look for ones that just know the difference. Some want you to buy their products first. Some make you buy a few orders first. Some will report the accounts quickly. This gives you the questions to ask when you're getting approved for new vendors, because this is what differentiates one vendor really between the other. Okay, so look out for all these things when applying for actual vendor accounts. And always remember to apply without using your social security numbers. A lot of them will tell you they have to have it. A lot of people working for these creditors don't even know that you can apply without a social security number. So they'll insist to you that they do, but always apply without it, because what you'll find is that if once your business credit's established, then you'll start getting approved based on your EIN credit, not your social. So don't listen to them when they tell you have to have their social. A lot of them that you're talking to don't even know on the front lines that you can apply and get it approved without that. And when your first accounts are reported to D&B, Experian, and Equifax, then your credit profile automatically gets activated. And I'm telling you this because Dun & Bradstreet Credibility will try to charge you money for activating your credit profile, but you really don't need to pay them money. So some of the most popular accounts that we see in the vendor world are Uline, Lachlan & Associates, Quill, Reliable Office Supplies. So you'll need a total of 5 payment experiences. Just in those 4 I gave you, there's probably 8 or 9 payment experiences because some of them report to multiple reporting agencies. You've got to have 5 payment experiences to start getting revolving credit. So these are some good sources. Uline, Lachlan Associates, Quill, Reliable. That sells stuff you're probably going to use that can help you build your actual business credit. Remember, don't go in and apply at Staples and stuff to begin with. You've got to get vendor credit first. So let's talk about revolving store credit. Well, most major retailers offer revolving business credit. Okay, so to get approved, they're going to want to see that you have these payment experiences established that we talked about, and they're going to want to see that you have a credit profile, at least with 1 or 2 of the reporting agencies, and they want to see that you have good scores with the reporting agencies. And scores are just determined based on how you pay. So if you pay your bills on time or early, you're going to have good scores. So your major business credit scores are based on the time frames you pay your bills. So all you need to do to have good scores is just pay your bills as soon as you get them. So even though you might have 30 days to pay a Net 30 account, you want to pay it as soon as the bill comes in. That's what's really essential to having the highest possible score. Remember, a lot of credit issuers have their computers approving these files automatically, and they're looking for high scores. So if you pay your bills early, then you have good business credit scores, and you'll get approved automatically in a lot of cases. So you've got to have 5 payment experiences before you even start applying for store credit. And some of the store credit accounts include Radio Shack, Lowe's, Home Depot, Staples, Office Depot. So these are just some, but listen, I can go on and on and on. I mean, almost all major retailers offer revolving credit. Okay, so even though they don't promote it, many of them will. So if you're following these steps, you can get credit with BP and Chevron and Walmart and Target. And again, I could just go on and list almost every major retailer, but there's really no reason to, because almost every major retailer offers business credit. And if you've done what we've talked about so far, you can then go in and start getting approved for their business credit accounts by applying for a business credit account and leaving your social blank off that application. And these stores also offer business credit: Amazon, Best Buy, Nordstrom, Sam's Club, Costco, and many, many more. Like I said, I could list most major retailers. They almost all offer business credit, even though they don't promote that they do. So once you have 10 payment experiences total, okay, and again, you could get that from 5 or 6 accounts. A payment experience is just an account reporting to a business credit reporting agency. So for Staples, for example, they report to like 2 or 3 business credit reporting agencies. So that one account counts as 2 or 3 payment experiences. And once you have 10, you can then start getting cash credit. $5,000, $10,000 limit cash credit, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover type of accounts. You can even contact us if you do have good personal credit or have a partner who does, and get unsecured credit right away that's cash credit that reports to the business credit reporting agencies. Remember, you don't need good personal credit to get business credit, but if you do have it or have a partner that does, you can cut out some of these steps. You can get immediate cash credit that only reports to the business credit reporting agencies, and that in turn gives you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 limit accounts right off the bat. You build your business credit in the process of getting cash. It's kind of like a shortcut. And then Key Bank is a great starter cash credit source. So once you have 10 payment experiences, you should look into Key Bank. They're a really good source to start with like $10,000 limit type cash credit cards. So you can establish business credit. Now you know the steps. I mean, these are the steps that every single company actually follows. And it might even seem simple, but these are the exact steps that if you follow, you will be able to have business credit. The key is to not delay. Take what you've learned, get to work right away, and start going through these steps. And again, by staying through the webinar, you're going to get a playback of this webinar that you can stop, rewind, go back, and write down anything you've missed so you can start taking action right away. Set up that business credibility. Get your business credit reports. Set up your vendor accounts. And then doing so, you're able to actually come in and get revolving accounts. So that really outlines the steps. Let me check this real quick to see if, let's check the time on this real quick. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to have to wrap this up. I don't have time for a lot of questions today. I got a lot of questions during the webinar, but I literally am starting a new webinar at 3 o'clock. So in 3 minutes, I have to jump into another one. But I want to make sure your questions are answered. So if you did ask a question during this webinar, just send me an email or give me a call. 877-600-2487 is my number. Ty@creditsuite.com. Ty is T-Y at creditsuite.com. And I'll make sure your questions are answered. I want to make sure your questions are answered. If you do want some help with building your business credit, getting financing, offering it for your customers, check us out, creditsuite.com/business credit. Also check out my YouTube channel. There's a lot of great information on there that can help you. But you now know the steps to build business credit. You just don't delay. Get started. Get in there. Get your business set up credibly. Get your business credit reports. Then start getting your initial vendor accounts. And that's the hard part. Once you get the vendor accounts established, then you have credit profile, then you have credit score, then you have payment experiences, then you can walk into most major retailers and start getting business credit. It just all happens mostly in the building credibility and vendor steps. If you focus your early attention in those areas, you'll be well on your way of building your business credit. So I appreciate you taking the time with me during this hour. I try to move kind of quick because I try to give you a ton of information in a short period of time. So I hope you got a lot of value of this. As all my webinars, I always hope that you got out of this a lot of information more that you didn't have before you came in. And if you ever do want to get added to my email list and get even more information and invites on our social media and all that, send me an email, ty@creditsuite.com. I'll make sure I get you added to my email list, and I'll send you all kinds of free information on getting business credit financing for your business. So thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time to attend this webinar. I hope you got a lot of good, valuable information. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.